All right, aloha, Tulsi Kratz and Bernie Kratz, and all of you who want real change when it comes to real issues. I'm Dave, and I am the radical independent. That sounds good. Of course, if you haven't been to the channel in a while, you may not have noticed that I pulled the name out from under Tulsi, but we're still here for Tulsi. We're here for Bernie. We're here to talk issues. We need a candidate that cares about things and cares about issues. Bernie Sanders here, in about 21 seconds, defines the whole Medicare for All debate. It's pretty simple to me.
Can you believe that in America today, people are dying because of the high costs of prescription drugs? And today we announce loudly and clearly that we will no longer accept the greed of the pharmaceutical industry.
And there you are. 21 seconds. That's all it takes for Bernie Sanders to decimate the insurance industry. And good. Good. I mean, look, if you're a liberal, if you're a conservative, if you're whoever, and you're looking at Big Pharma as a good thing, oh yeah, well they come up with so many drugs to cure things. Yeah, we're all guinea pigs, because if you watched any drug commercial on TV, you know about all of the side effects, and you're thinking to yourself, man, that doesn't sound like a safe drug. And of course, we've got the opioid crisis, which Purdue Pharma and others completely responsible for. Overprescribing. You have a few doctors in on this, by the way, which nobody mentions, because the doctors get a kickback probably if they have the drug reps come in and say, hey, we got this new alternative to such and such, and we'd love you to spring it on your patients, and we'll take you out to lunch. And they do that stuff all the time. It's just such a large pool of money. And it's such a huge lobbying arm of the country. These are the same folks that don't want people to use medical marijuana to treat pain because, hey, that is a natural cure, basically grows out of the ground, and people don't want that to happen. Yeah, I know there's a stigma still for some folks, marijuana, and I get it. I don't use any drugs at all. I've never tried drugs. I don't plan on doing it. But if medical marijuana works, it's certainly going to be a problem for the insurance agency, who, for the most part, they're not going to recommend any natural cures. Occasionally, the doctor will get in there and sometimes prescribe something like that. But Bernie Sanders, to me, and Tulsi Gabbard, some people say Elizabeth Warren. I just can't see Elizabeth Warren as president of the United States, and there are a number of reasons, but I don't want to get too far into it. Bernie Sanders right now has the best mathematical shot of the two real progressive candidates running, at least in the Democratic Party. The Green Party and whoever else out there, various independents across the country, not necessarily running for president, but there's a guy running for Senate in Arkansas. There's a woman who's running against John Cornyn. If she can just stay away from identity politics, I think she'd be more effective. Bernie Sanders, to me, I mean, his speaking style, it obviously comes across as being the guy who's angry on the front lawn because the kids have just run through a brand new patch of grass that was just seeded and, is starting to grow. Doesn't matter, though. He's still got it. You know what I'm saying? He still cares.
In fact, later this month, on the 28th, I'll be going to Detroit, Michigan, and get on a bus with a number of people who have diabetes. And we're going to be taking that bus to Windsor, Ontario. And in Windsor, Ontario, we are going to buy insulin for 1/10 of the price that diabetic patients are charged in the United States. So
now, do I think all things in the world should become nonprofit? No, of course not. That would be ridiculous. I do believe there are certain things that will improve the quality of life for people who aren't making in the upper echelon of income in our society. And it's called fairness. It's called compassion. It's actually called, hey, I've got mine here, but I'm really worried about the people that don't. And that's how we should think about each other. And I know, believe me, you go out into society, and between the road rage and the impolite people all around you, the people dropping F-bombs wherever you go, you think to yourself, our society is kind of going off the rails when it comes to civility. And I see it over on Twitter. In fact, I've seen it in a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters who are really into identity politics and tribalism. I like Bernie because of the issues. And if you just stay in that lane and you're not thinking about how much you hate Donald Trump, you could court many Donald Trump supporters who, haven't really benefited from Donald Trump's policies. Donald Trump has kept the status quo in place, and he's revved up, the big business machine and so forth by giving out tax breaks and cutting regulations and so forth. But for the most part, the people who are downstream of that haven't benefited like the people at the top of the stream, because we all rely on the benevolence of those at the top. And if people choose to be jerks and they don't want to help people down below, they're not going to. Prescription drug prices, this is a huge issue for so many people. Down here in Florida, we had this debate about buying cheaper drugs in Canada. And there are a lot of Republican politicians who got lobbied hard and basically said, no, we can't do this. I'm not sure if Governor DeSantis decided that we're going to still do it. He's going to do it anyway. He's been a little bit of an outlier on a few issues. He's done some things that have really surprised me as a Republican governor. But for the most part, everyone, including Democrats, most everyone's getting paid off by the same people that are taking doctors and others, nurses and so forth, out to lunch to tell them about a brand new product that they have that can, cure this and that, but has all kinds of side effects. But for the basics, for the necessities like insulin, again, it shouldn't be a life or death issue for people. People who can't afford insulin, there's no program for those people to help them, which is really tragic.
Today we tell the pharmaceutical industry their greed is going to end, that under Medicare for All there will be a cap on what people will have to pay for medicine, and that we are going to significantly, and underline the word significantly, lower prescription drug costs in America. We are tired of getting ripped off.
All right, now that's language, by the way, that's language where Bernie Sanders is really representing the working class, the little guy. And the question is, are there enough little guys to go out and hear this and then vote for Bernie Sanders? Are there enough little guys who say, you know what, I've been voting against my economic interests because I wanted to be part of this tribe. Now I got you. On the social issues, on some of the issues that you may disagree with on, you're going to have to learn to coexist with people and just say, you know what, I don't agree with you on this, but guess what? I agree that a living wage is a good idea. I agree that lower prescription drug costs are important, and certainly I agree that our planet seems to be warming up a little bit, and maybe we should take some type of action to reverse that process. At least we need to try. We need to do something. And not only that, say you're even a skeptic about climate change. Well, there's another 20 or 30 issues. The tax loopholes, the big corporations that got who pay no taxes, the stuff that got bailed out under Barack Obama, banks and car companies, people forget this. It would have been a very good populist idea to bail out the consumers that were underwater on these houses that suddenly weren't worth anything. Okay, that would have been a far better thing than bailing out executives at corporations who caused the banking crisis to begin with. And even conservatives at the time were pointing that out. None of them were really willing to do anything to help the little guy out. Bernie Sanders is one of those people that will do something for the little guy. And you can go down the line. If you got student loan debt, Bernie Sanders cares about you. He wants to eliminate it. There are plans in the works to do all of these things, including get wages to a place where people can afford to rent an apartment, which where I live and all across the country, rents are absolutely ridiculous. And very few people are really talking about it. There's not one conservative I know that's talking about it. So this is an important issue. The pharmaceutical industry, both left and right, would agree that they've gone too far and that they're greedy. And if you're defending these people, you probably are being paid off by somebody, or the company you work for, all right, is certainly in bed with these people, and you don't want to lose your relationship. So you just ignore the issue, or you talk about how wonderful these drug companies are. I support 100% going to Canada to get cheaper drugs, cheaper insulin. I mean, it's a life or death situation. So Bernie Sanders is your life or death candidate. Tulsi Gabbard is too. But that's it. In the Democratic Party, that's all you've got. You got Bernie and you got Tulsi. So you should be supporting them both. You should be getting Tulsi into that third debate. And we should have this conversation as long as we possibly can up until the general election. I mean, if it ends up being, Biden versus Trump, then I'm sorry, I'll be, as the name of the channel is The Radical Independent. I will be searching out and voting for an independent candidate who supports these goals that Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard support. And then, of course, we'll have to worry about ballot access and all that crap. So, in any event, Bernie has a vision for the country, and it's all about issues. And I know that drives people crazy on the left and the right, but there's nobody else running for president, including President Trump, the incumbent, who's running on as many issues as Bernie Sanders. Trump always says he wants to do this and that, and if we can just get the Democrats to come to the table. You know what? Leadership. If you really want to get those things done with the Democrats, then you show leadership. And you use, the Oval Office as your bully pulpit rather than just a place to condemn people in government that you don't agree with. There's so many other things we need to focus on rather than this tribalist nonsense that is not helping anybody. So there you go. Done. The Radical Independent off and running with another video today. See you soon.